The most powerful defense your body has against something as terrifying as cancer isn't locked in a lab, isn't hidden behind a prescription, and isn't reserved for the elite, but might already be sitting in your kitchen right now, yeah? I know. Sounds crazy. Almost too simple, right? But stay with me, because this is where things start to get uncomfortable. A little shocking, maybe even frustrating, because the truth doesn't always come wrapped in headlines or primetime commercials. It usually sits quietly ignored, while louder, flashier distractions take center stage, and that's exactly what's been happening here for years. Maybe decades, and most people never question it. They just keep moving, keep eating the same things, keep trusting the same patterns without ever stopping to ask, wait, is there something I'm missing? Let me paint you a picture, real quick, because stories hit different, right? There's this man, early 60s. Worked hard his whole life, provided for his family. Never really thought much about nutrition beyond eat when you're hungry. Nothing extreme. Just normal, everyday habits like millions of people out there. Fast food on busy days, processed snacks here and there, soda with meals, the usual routine. And then one day, everything flips. Just like that, doctor's office, quiet room, serious tone diagnosis, and suddenly the world doesn't feel the same anymore. Every choice starts to matter. Every bite feels different. Every piece of information becomes urgent. And that's when something interesting happens. Something most people overlook. He starts digging deeper. Not just listening, but questioning. Researching late into the night. Going through studies, interviews, things that aren't trending. Things that don't get pushed to the top of your feed. And he begins to notice a pattern that's almost impossible to ignore once you see it certain foods. Real foods, whole foods, showing up again and again in scientific discussions about slowing abnormal cell growth, supporting the immune system, reducing inflammation. And here's the part that hits you like a brick. Nobody is really talking about it in a way that reaches the masses. It's there. The information exists. But it's buried under layers of noise, and you have to wonder why, right? Like, seriously, think about it. Why do we hear more about the latest sugary drink than we do about foods that actually support our body at a cellular level? Why does broccoli never get a commercial, but junk food gets entire campaigns? It doesn't add up. And when you start connecting the dots, it makes you pause. Because we're not just talking about healthy eating in the generic sense. We're talking about compounds inside food's natural compounds that interact with your body in ways that are honestly kind of incredible. Like sulforaphane found in broccoli sprouts, which researchers have been studying for its potential role in supporting the body's natural defense systems. Or curcumin in turmeric, a compound that's been looked at for how it relates to inflammation pathways. And inflammation, by the way, plays a major role in how diseases develop over time. And then you've got berries, simple, everyday berries, packed with antioxidants that help combat oxidative stress, something your body deals with constantly. And yet, when was the last time someone sat you down and said, hey, maybe you should prioritize these foods the same way you prioritize convenience? Probably never, right? And that's the thing. This isn't about replacing medical treatment or pretending food is some magical cure. Let's be real. It's not that simple, but ignoring its role completely. That's where the real problem starts, because your body isn't just passive. It's not sitting there waiting for things to go wrong. It's actively working, constantly repairing, defending, adjusting, and what you feed it either supports that process or makes it harder. And if we're being honest, a lot of what's normalized today falls into that second category. Ultra-processed foods, excessive sugar, artificial everything. It's convenient. Yeah, it tastes good in the moment, sure, but long-term? That's a different story. And deep down, most people already know that. They just don't stop long enough to really think about it. Because thinking about it means changing something, and change is uncomfortable. But here's the question you can't ignore. If something as simple as adjusting what's on your plate could make even a small difference in how your body functions, wouldn't it be worth paying attention to? Wouldn't it be worth at least asking the question instead of brushing it off? Because once you start seeing food, not just as fuel, but as information for your body, everything shifts, your perspective changes, your choices become more intentional, and suddenly, those small decisions don't feel so small anymore. They feel powerful, and that's where awareness begins. Not in fear, not in panic, but in understanding, in realizing that you're not as powerless as you might have been led to believe, that you actually have a role to play in your own health story. And yeah, maybe it's not the whole story, but it's a part of it, a significant part. And ignoring it doesn't make it go away. It just keeps you in the same cycle, the same patterns, the same outcomes, and at some point, you've got to ask yourself, am I okay with that? Or do I want something different? Now here's where it gets even more real, because once that awareness kicks in, once you start questioning things instead of just accepting them, you can't unsee it. You start walking through a grocery store differently. You notice what's actually in your cart. You read labels you used to ignore. You pause for a second longer before grabbing something out of habit. And it's not about being perfect. It's not about flipping your entire life overnight. It's about those small shifts, those quiet decisions that stack up over time. And that's something people underestimate all the time. The power of consistency, because we live in a world that wants instant results. Quick fixes, overnight transformations. But the truth is, your body doesn't work like that. It responds to patterns, to what you do repeatedly, day after day. And that's exactly why food matters more than people think. Because it's one of the few things you interact with every single day, multiple times a day, and each time, you're either giving your body something it can use to support itself, or something it has to fight against. And when you look at it like that, it's not just about eating. It's about choosing. And yeah, that might sound a little intense, but sometimes you need that wake-up moment, that shift in perspective that makes you stop and go, all right, maybe I need to pay more attention, because ignoring it hasn't exactly been working, has it? Rates of chronic disease aren't going down. People aren't magically getting healthier by doing the same things. So maybe, just maybe it's time to rethink what's considered normal, because normal right now, normal is convenience over quality, speed over substance, and long-term consequences for short-term satisfaction. And that trade-off doesn't look so good when you really break it down, especially when you realize there are alternatives, real, accessible, everyday alternatives that don't require a prescription, don't require a massive lifestyle overhaul, just a bit of awareness and a willingness to make slightly better choices more often. And that's where the empowerment comes in. Because once you understand that you're not completely at the mercy of chance, that your daily habits actually play a role, it changes how you see yourself. You're no longer just reacting. You're participating actively, intentionally. And that's a powerful place to be, even if it's uncomfortable at first, even if it means questioning things you've done for years. Because growth usually comes with a bit of discomfort. That's just part of the process. But on the other side of that, there's clarity, there's control, there's a sense of direction that most people are missing. And it doesn't come from some secret formula or hidden product. It comes from understanding the basics and actually applying them consistently over time. And yeah, it might not be flashy. It might not go viral in the same way sensational headlines do. But it's real, it's grounded, and it matters. Probably more than most people realize. And that's why conversations like this are important. Because even if it only reaches a few people, even if it only makes someone pause for a second and think differently about their next meal, that's still a step in the right direction. That's still a shift, and those shifts add up. They always do. So now I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to actually think about it. Not just scroll past. What's one thing you eat regularly that you know, deep down, probably isn't doing you any favors? Be honest with yourself, because awareness starts there. And if this made you think, even a little, if it made you question something you hadn't questioned before, then don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone, start a conversation. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because the more we talk about this, the harder it becomes to ignore, and maybe, just maybe, that's how real change starts, not with something huge and dramatic, but with small moments of awareness that spread, one person at a time. If you want this kind of video to truly explode like real viral velocity, not just a few views, you have to think beyond just good writing and start thinking psychologically, emotionally, and strategically at the same time. Because what keeps people watching isn't just information. It's how that information makes them feel, how it connects to their fears, their curiosity, and their need to know something others don't. So the first thing you need to lock in is your opening hook. And I mean razor sharp. No slow build-up, no soft intro. You hit them instantly with something disruptive, like a question that feels personal, or a statement that feels almost forbidden. Because in the first 3 to 5 seconds, people decide whether they stay or scroll. And if you don't trigger curiosity or tension right there, you've already lost them. And from there, you need to maintain a rhythm that feels like a conversation, not a lecture, mixing short, abrupt sentences with slightly longer emotional lines. Because that variation creates a natural flow that the brain enjoys. It keeps the listener engaged without feeling overwhelmed or bored. And one mistake people make is over-explaining too early. Don't do that. Instead, reveal information in layers, almost like storytelling, where each sentence makes the viewer subconsciously think, okay, but what's next? Because curiosity is your strongest retention tool. Stronger than facts, stronger than visuals. It's that unanswered question in the viewer's mind that keeps them glued. And you should also deliberately create pattern interrupts every 20 to 30 seconds, meaning you shift tone, drop a surprising line, ask a direct question, or introduce a quick relatable story, because attention naturally drops if everything sounds the same. And these small interruptions reset the brain and pull the viewer back in. Now emotionally, you want to balance between tension and relief. You introduce a problem or a shocking idea. Let it sit for a moment. Then ease the tension slightly with explanation or relatability. Then build it again. This emotional wave keeps people watching longer because they're not just consuming, they're feeling. And feelings drive shares, not facts. Always remember that. And another key element is making the viewer feel personally involved. Use phrases like, think about this, be honest, you've probably done this, because it breaks the barrier between content and audience. It turns passive watching into active thinking, which massively increases retention. And when it comes to language, your mix of formal and casual tone is actually a strong advantage. But it has to feel natural. Like you're smart, but still relatable. Like you know what you're talking about, but you're not talking down to them. Throw in light American slang, sparingly words, like real talk. Let that sink in. Here's the crazy part, because it adds personality and authenticity without sounding forced. And pacing is everything. Don't let any moment feel flat if a sentence doesn't add emotion, curiosity, or value. It needs to go. Because dead moments are retention killers. And visually, if this is for video, you should reinforce key phrases with on-screen text, especially words like hidden, truth, stop, because the brain processes visuals faster than audio, and it anchors the message deeper. Now let's talk about the ending, because this is where most people completely miss the opportunity. You don't just end the video. You convert the attention into action. You directly ask something engaging, not generic like and subscribe, but something that makes them think or respond. Like, what's one thing you eat that you know isn't helping you? Or, do you think we're being told the full truth? Because questions create interaction, and interaction boosts algorithm reach. And always include a subtle share trigger. Something like, send this to someone who needs to hear it, because people are more likely to share when you frame it as helping someone else, not just promoting content. And finally, consistency in tone and message is key. If your channel is about life advice, health awareness, or hidden truths, you need to build a recognizable voice, something that feels familiar every time someone clicks your video. Because familiarity builds trust, and trust builds loyal viewers. And loyal viewers are what turn content into a movement, not just a one-time viral clip. So focus on emotional storytelling, layered information, strong hooks, and intentional engagement. And if you execute all of that together, not perfectly, but consistently, you won't just get views. You'll get attention that sticks, conversations that grow, and content that people actually remember long after they've watched it.